Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Bottle Podcast. I'm your host Gabby.
And I'm your host Matt. Gabs, notice I didn't say co-host this time around.
Yes, well done. Adhering to my rules at last.
It's only taken me 3 episodes, Gab, and you've actually set me a bit of a task today, and that's to come up with some casual banter or something of nonsense.
It doesn't work if you tell them that that's what you're doing.
Anyway, Gab, I'm the one asking the questions today. I thought our listeners, they often quite hear you posing questions, but never on the other end of them. So I thought we could do a quick little 3 and 3 here with you. So I've got a couple of questions about how you first started in the industry. You ready to go?
Yeah, give it to me.
So, can you tell us about how you got your big break in media? What did you do to end up in a career like this?
This isn't a lovely story to tell people, especially my workplace. I wasn't sure what to do after I finished high school, and my mum was very strict. She said, you have to study or you have to get a job. And at that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to do nothing, essentially. And so going through the criteria of what to pick when you get all the booklets from universities and stuff and you're flicking through the pages, I was trying to be really realistic. I can't get a grade to be a doctor, obviously. Can't do that. Not that I wanted to do that stuff. So it was a process of elimination, and I ended up in a journalism degree at UniSA. So
well, that's not the most conventional path into it, Gab, but can you tell us about how you ended up at Citrus Australia of all places?
I like to say every part of my career and pathway has been guided through some sort of agricultural/horticultural industry. It was good. One of my family friends actually sent through the advert and I applied for it and I got the job. And I expected, never to be able to work in the horticultural/agricultural industry with my career choice I'd picked, because I'd previously only ever worked seasonal jobs in that space. Yeah, and I didn't think I would get a job full stop because it was the year coming out of the pandemic. So I had been saving up to expect at least 6 months of unemployment. So I'm very happy to have this job.
Absolutely. But shall we get on with this month's episode?
Yeah, let's do it. Well, this month we've got another amazing guest lined up. But before we introduce her, here's a short rundown of what the Citrus Australia team have been getting up to since we last spoke.
Absolutely, Gab. Now, upcoming events, we have our regional forums in the tri-state areas. These will kick off with our Murray Valley Forum in Mildura on the 16th of October. We move to Loxton on the 17th of October, and then Griffith on the 19th of October. Now, the event in Griffith is a double event with our traditional regional forum early in the morning and then followed by a juice forum in the afternoon. So that looks like a really good event to get along to if you're in the area and in the juice sector.
Yeah, Matt and I will be there too.
Yes, absolutely. I think I've just got to book my flight still, Gab, but I should be there. Registrations are preferred for these events, and you can do that via the link in the podcast description below.
Nathan, Ebony and Olivia and our chair, Richard, attended Asia Fruit Logistica this month. It was held in Hong Kong. It goes for over 3 days. Essentially, lots and lots of people go to it. It's one of the biggest events in the horticultural industry globally, I would assume. Citrus Australia joined other industry folk and manned a sort of citrus booth area that was shared within Hort Innovation, I think it was.
Absolutely. They were exhibiting under the Grown in Good Nature banner, which is, of course, presented by our friends at Hort Innovation. We also hosted an industry familiarisation event in Mildura in late August. Now, this gave staff members from Hort Innovation, Plant Health Australia and the Australian Department of Agriculture a really good insight into the citrus industry. It was a great couple of days that allowed us to showcase the whole of the citrus supply chain.
And I think that's everything. I mean, our team gets up to a lot. So I hope I'm not missing anything.
I think we've covered it all there, Gab. You've done a great job. Let's have a look at what we've got in store for this month's episode. And that topic is traceability in the citrus industry. Now, Gab, you've had a chat to Carolyn Barrett, the Program Manager for Traceability at Agriculture Victoria. Now, Carolyn has recently conducted a large pilot project uncovering new territory for the citrus industry. In this episode, we will learn what is traceability, how this pilot project that Carolyn's been working on has supported industry, and where the future's heading for this sort of technology. It's a very interesting episode, and I really look forward to hearing more about this topic. So let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, Caroline. How are you this sunny day?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me along. It's great to be here.
No, thank you so much for taking some time away from work and joining us on this podcast. Where are you dialing in from today?
I'm dialing in from Melbourne, which is actually sunny today, which is great.
Oh, perfect. What's something you do this time of the year to, spend your time to relax, or what's an activity that you get up to?
Yeah, I love this time of year. Spring's really great. So I have a lovable but slightly crazy Labrador dog who didn't make the cut as a guide dog for seeing eye dogs. So he's now a pet. And we usually head out for a walk every day. I love being out in nature and enjoying the change of the seasons. And when I'm at home, I really like painting. I like painting in watercolors, and I like to paint some of the plants and the birds and the animals that I've seen out on my walks, and just spend time being creative.
I gave your Instagram a good stalk as as I do in my day to day, and I absolutely love your art. Has that been something you've always done, the artwork?
I did a bit, years ago when I was in school, and then, life got busy. So I haven't done it for quite a long time, but probably over the last 5 years, I've got back into it again. And it's really nice. It's really nice to do as an activity that's relaxing and creative. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If anyone's listening, can I give a shout out to your page?
Sure.
If anyone's listening, head on to Instagram and type in Sketchy Caroline if you're interested to see some of this amazing artwork. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really beautiful.
Thanks so much, Gabby. That's really kind of you.
I've also got the travel bug at the moment, and I'm always asking this question of people. Of all the places you've traveled in your life, what's one place you would recommend to anyone?
Oh, that is a tough question. I'm going to be cheeky and give you 2 countries, if that's all right. The first one would be Nepal. I went to Nepal a few years ago on a work study trip, and we were a team of farmers and veterinarians in a study tour that was organized by the United Nations. So this study tour was to study foot and mouth disease in livestock, which, as you probably know, is a disease we don't have in Australia at the moment, but it's a risk for Australia. So we traveled around different villages looking at this disease and how it affected the livestock in Nepal. And the people there were really welcoming and warm. And we also had some amazing view of the Himalayas while we were there. So that was a fantastic experience. The other country would be Oman. So when I was growing up, I lived in some of the countries in the Middle East. And Oman is a country in the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula. It's really wonderful. It has a rich cultural heritage and friendly people, and it also has beautiful desert and coastal scenery as well. So Nepal and Oman would be my 2 recommendations.
Yeah, wow, amazing. I've never explored those parts of the world before, but they're definitely going to go on my list now. That's so amazing. You got to travel and experience those places.
Yeah, they were some great adventures.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because citrus is so diverse, if you're going to eat or drink something made of citrus, what's it going to be?
Well, I am going to fly the flag for grapefruit. I like to eat grapefruits cut in half for breakfast. I know some people like to sprinkle sugar on the top, but I am saying a hard no to sugar on the top. I think they're really delicious just as they are.
Yes, I think that's going to be really controversial to some people to hear, because Anytime I've heard anyone talk about how they eat grapefruit, it's always got the sugar on the top. And I've never tried it. I didn't know it was a thing until I started work here. So
maybe I'll split the field in your listeners.
yeah, don't continue listening, everyone, please. So what was your pathway into the industry and what part of it do you love the most?
So my background is I'm a veterinarian. I worked in general practice in small animals and in farm animals. And I've also worked in diagnostic laboratories and in the food industry. I also have a certificate in horticulture. So I think there's loads of great things about working in the agriculture industry. For me, I really love working on projects. I love seeing things through from start to finish. I love working with a really diverse range of people and learning about their skills and their expertise. I'm passionate about science, and I really enjoy bringing together art and science and agriculture together through communications. So we've produced some good videos and reports through some of our projects, and that's been a really fun way to bring everything together.
Yeah, communications and science is really, it's like the new bread and butter of the century, and I love it. Like, it's such valuable to have communications and science combined together, so it's, people understand it a lot better in those formats.
Yeah, I agree.
How long have you been at Agriculture Victoria, and what is your role there?
So Agriculture Victoria is the state government organisation for agriculture here in Victoria in Australia. And I've been here for just over 3 years. I'm the program manager for Traceability, and I chair the working group for Traceability, which is a $15 million fund across 14 projects in plants and animals.
Thanks for answering our Fast 5 questions. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. What is traceability and why do we need it?
Yeah, traceability is actually a really simple concept, but it has many benefits. So I think a good definition of traceability is traceability tracks the journey of food from tree to table. And traceability has many benefits. So it can help with food safety incidents. It can help with biosecurity and protecting plant populations from the spread of disease. It can also support market access and the legislative requirements around those. And it can protect your brand. So it can really help protect and define the provenance of where a food has come from. It can also really help with the fundamentals of supply chains. So protecting product quality and supporting supply chain efficiency. So as I said, traceability is a simple concept, but it has many benefits.
Yeah, it's definitely a big meaning word for sure in this industry. You've worked on 3 recent traceability projects for citrus and they're wrapping up now, I suppose. Can you tell us about the first of these projects and how they benefited the industry?
Yeah, sure. It's been really great working with Citrus Australia on these projects. So the first project is where we have created the National Citrus Map. So if I take you back to 2018 and the outbreak of citrus canker in Australia, that will bring back some memories about the dangers which a disease can pose to Australian citrus orchards and probably send a bit of a shiver down your spine when you think about that. So to try and help manage those types of incidents, we created the National Citrus Map in partnership with the University of New England. And so far, we've mapped over 750 Australian citrus orchards. And that really helps you protect the source of your supply as an industry and respond quickly to biosecurity incidents and natural disasters such as fire and flood.
Your second project supports traceability for exports. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this project, as you say, is about export traceability. This is where we've partnered with Mildura Fruit Company, who I'm sure will be familiar to lots of your listeners. Mildura Fruit Company serves 120 growers and they export to over 30 countries. So some of the challenges that they're up against is visibility of their products across their supply chains. So often they lose that visibility once the food arrives on the dock in export countries. They also really want to protect their brands against food fraud. They know that that's happening in export countries. And they also really want to maintain market access in the face of increasing traceability legislation. So what we did to kind of address all of these issues was we worked with an organization called Trust Codes, who are a technology provider, and we applied unique QR codes onto 600,000 products from Mildura Fruit Company. So that was unique QR codes on every single mesh bag and carton. So you can imagine that presented some printing challenges.
Yeah.
And we used a technology called GS1 Digital Link that enabled people, when they scanned those QR codes, so wherever they were in the supply chain or if they were a consumer, they could use their smartphone, scan the QR code on their product, and that would instantly authenticate the fruit product for them, so they could know exactly where their food had come from. It protected against food fraud. And I think really importantly, it kind of opens up a two-way flow of information. So anyone could discover where their food had come from, but likewise, Mildura Fruit Company now knows where their food is going as well. So this opens the doors to many marketing activities, including things like surveys where consumers can give feedback on their experience with the food. Also, behind the scenes, what we did was we applied GS1 global standards into the label data around the product and the place where it had come from. And these traceability standards are actually really important because they harmonize data and allow digitization of international supply chains. And so it really supports those increasing legislative requirements and just gives you really instant information about where the food is from in instances such as food recalls. So it's a really valuable project.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like it was a one stone, multiple birds sort of project, that second one. Your third project is something different. It's focusing on the fruit science, which sounds really unusual, but it's pretty amazing detail what science can unravel sometimes. Can you explain it a bit more?
Yeah, this third project is really fascinating. So this is where we have created something called the National Isotope and Trace Element Profile, or the NITE profile for citrus. And what this has involved is typing or characterizing a fruit through laboratory testing. And what we've done is identified unique patterns of elements that are present in fruit that are dependent on things like the local soil and water, the local geography and environmental conditions, and local farming practices as well. So wherever you are in the world, if you test a piece of fruit, the patterns within that fruit will be unique to that place. So what we've done in this project, we worked with a laboratory called GNS Science, and Stacey Barlow, who's from Agriculture Victoria, also helped with a lot of the logistics on this project. So shout out to her. And we collected samples from around 26 farms in Australia and also from 4 competitor countries. So we took these samples and we really wanted to answer 2 key questions. First of all, if we have a piece of fruit, can we tell if that fruit is from Australia, yes or no? And we successfully answered that question. I think that's a really powerful question to ask, because if you have a piece of fruit and you know that it's not from Australia, then if you have a food safety incident or an MRL incident or something similar, then you can tell that you can protect all of Australia's 1,000 or more growers in a single laboratory test. So that's a very powerful test.
Yeah.
The other thing which we did was we knew that we could also differentiate which of the 5 growing regions around Australia that fruit came from. And the next level down, which if we had more data and we did more testing, we could also start to differentiate which farm it's from as well. So this is a really powerful set of data, and it gives you a great tool for things like food fraud, claim resolutions, and also protecting Australian reputation during a food safety incident. So a really fascinating project.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your role / involvement in these projects? What was your responsibility, I suppose?
Yeah, so I was involved in project management, and that involved organising funding and the grant contracts from Agriculture Victoria, liaising with the stakeholders all the way through the projects, and also supporting the communications, so putting together those videos and reports that give information and generate awareness around the projects.
And what is the value of doing a pilot study? Like, what is a pilot study really? And, why was this a pilot study?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. So I think a pilot study is really an opportunity to try something new in a low risk environment. So we had funding from government and we're able to implement new technology and kind of iron out the kinks, discover what works, what doesn't, and then use those projects as a showcase for the rest of industry. So we could build awareness and understanding across industry and government if they want to try something similar in future.
So where do we go from here? We've done the pilot study. What's the next steps?
Yeah, so we've got good news here. So with the first of those projects, the National Citrus Map, we've already registered 750 farms and mapped them. And this initiative will build year on year. So Citrus Australia will keep updating this and adding new data.
Yeah.
For the second project, the Mildura Fruit Company, also good news. So they've gone from a pilot in their first season to now full commercial adoption of these traceability practices across all their products this year. And they serve 120 growers. So this project is going to benefit many people in the industry. And also their project is a really strong showcase to use by other businesses who might want to adopt this technology. For the third project, which is the National Trace Element and the isotope profile, we really want to keep building on that data. There's opportunities for Citrus Australia to collaborate with other peak bodies around the world and build up those international data sets. And Citrus Australia is also really keen to hear from any growers who are interested in characterizing fruit from their own farm, with all the associated marketing opportunities that come along with that, and the opportunity to contribute to the national data set as well. So really good news across all of those projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, other peak industry bodies, have other industries done similar projects in traceability?
Yes, they have. So we've already worked with table grapes and done similar projects with them. And we're currently in the middle of a project in cherries. And we've got something a bit new that we're doing in cherries. We're also implementing RFID systems on the farm. So that's building on-farm traceability and having the ability to automatically track fruit as it's harvested, goes through the packing shed, and then is dispatched as well. So that's a kind of new element that we're bringing into the cherries project.
Yeah, I can imagine there's some similarities, but I imagine there's differences in how these pilots need to be played out in different sort of commodities.
Yeah, that's right. There are similarities, but quite a lot of differences as well. And I think some of the challenges that everyone's up against are around those international supply chain industries, but then everyone does things differently on their own farms as well.
Yeah, true. If anyone wanted to look into some of the results or some of these projects, where should they go and what reports were created that could maybe give them a bit of an insight?
Yeah, so we publish all of the reports and the videos publicly, so anyone can watch those and read those. Some good places to go to are the traceability page on the websites of Citrus Australia, the Australian Table Grapes Association, and Cherry Growers Australia. Also, we've got some good resources. If you go to GS1 Australia's website, they've got some good solution provider lists if you're looking for technology providers. And also our own Agriculture Victoria website has got a quick start guide to traceability. and also a cost benefit analysis calculator. So if you're wondering about what are the costs going to be for a project and what are the benefits that are going to come out of it and the return on investment, you can plug your figures in and have a play using the cost benefit analysis calculator.
Oh, that's awesome. There's obviously lots of information out there to at people's fingertips to be able to sort of research and understand this a lot more. What partners and players should we acknowledge as being a part of this project in citrus traceability?
Yeah, this was obviously a huge team effort across lots of projects. So I'd really like to say thank you to Citrus Australia, to all of the citrus growers who contributed, and particularly Matthew Cottrell, who was involved in one of our earlier projects and has been really generous about allowing us to film on his orchards. To University of New England for the mapping project, Mildura Fruit Company, Trust Codes, and GS1 Australia for the project that we did around export, and to GNS Science for the laboratory testing, to Creativa for help with all of the communications, and of course to Agriculture Victoria as well for funding.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to everyone, especially yourself, Caroline, who, I got some small chances to work with you and you're just an absolute gun. And I don't think, a lot of this project, I think, is on your shoulders for it getting so far along and, successful as well. So, pat yourself on the back as well.
Thank you so much, Gabby. It's been a real pleasure to work with you as well and everyone who's been involved in the project. So huge thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast and taking some time away from your busy day to chat to us about this project.
Thank you, Gabby. It's been really fun. My first podcast. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
No, I'm glad we were first. Well, have a lovely rest of your day and rest of the year. And we might hear from you soon in the future. Who knows?
Thanks so much. Have a great day too.
Well, Gab, what an interesting chat with Carolyn. What did you take out of it?
I took a lot out of it. It's a huge project. It has lots of different sort of branches, I suppose, a bit like traceability. I loved learning about Carolyn's secret talent, though, her artwork, which, when she sent that to me, I gave her a good stalk on Instagram and I was like, wow, you work with someone for a long time and you don't get to know that part of them until an opportunity like this happens. So I was grateful for learning that about her. Matt, do you have any secret talents I should know about?
Probably none we can share on air, Gab, so we'll move on to the next question.
Very grateful to have another amazing full bottle guest on the podcast. We don't make money on this. It purely exists for its listeners. So it's dope we get to have so many guests coming to talk to us each month.
And if you're keen to hear more about this subject of traceability, Agriculture Victoria's podcast, AgVic Talk, recently released an episode with our CEO, Nathan Hancock. Now, this delved into what the project is all about, and you can listen to that via any good podcasting site services out there. The podcast called Collecting Data at All Points of the Supply Chain with Nathan Hancock. The link is in the podcast description below.
Yeah, we did not copy them. If that's what you're thinking, they copied us, even though they released their podcast first.
What do they say about imitation, Gab? I think it's the... Oh, no, stuff that one.
All great artists are the best thieves or something like that.
Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already.
You can also leave feedback in the survey in the podcast description or even suggest the next podcast theme or guest.
And if you're a citrus grower, you can keep up to date on all of our levy-funded projects through our communications, including our monthly e-news, our social media pages, and our quarterly magazine, Australian Citrus News, with issue 3 coming out in early October.
See you next month, but in the meantime, keep it juicy. Bye!
See ya.